Hello everyone and welcome back for some more Drag Race gossip, secrets and drama. As some of you may have seen on my post on YouTube, my previous Roscoe's recap videos were copyright claimed, so I had to take them down. So I'm redoing my Roscoe's recap videos, but I won't be able to show any actual clips from Roscoe's due to the copyright issues. But there is a link in the description to the original video on Roscoe's channel, so you can go and watch the full viewing party there if you want to. This Roscoe's viewing party was for the premiere episode of Drag Race Season 15, and the guests were Season 14 winner Willow and Season 13 contestant Denali. Coming up, we'll be talking about how social media affects Drag Race queens and their behaviour, backstage tea from Willow and Denali's seasons, and Willow reveals she had a bad experience with Chachki. All that and more coming up in today's video, so let's get started. Please note that because we're going to be talking about the outcome of certain episodes of Drag Race, there is a spoiler alert in place for this video. At the start of the episode, host Naysha Lopez mentioned DragCon UK, which was happening on the same day as the Season 15 premiere, and Denali said, quote, "It's such a blessing to not be here at DragCon right now. No shade, it's great, stressful, fun time." Denali then went on to explain that DragCon is really expensive and stressful for the queens, and people don't realise just how expensive it is. As a side note, some of you may not know that the queens have to pay for their own booths at DragCon, and they can cost hundreds if not thousands of dollars, so it's a really big commitment for the queens. Make sure you check out my recent video about my experience at DragCon UK, where I talk about this in more detail. I'll put the link in the description. And Denali finished by saying, quote, "Yeah, it's a lot, it's really expensive, people don't realise, it's just like anything World of Wonder makes us do, it's all paid by us, yes." And this comment is probably referring to the fact that, according to several sources that have been leaked on the internet, the queens are apparently contractually obligated to attend DragCon and have no choice. They were then talking about the group number that the queens had to do on Season 15, Episode 1, and Denali said that on her season, which was Season 13, they gave the contestants an hour to do the dance rehearsal and film it, and they then bring you back to finish the dance routine for about 6 or 7 hours. Then, one of the hosts mentioned that Willow had been involved with the Season 15 cast reveal and asked if Willow had any favourites from the season. And Willow shared some interesting tea about the Season 15 cast reveal. Willow said that even though the Season 15 cast comes across as being quite loud on camera, they were actually really quiet during the reveal and didn't really say anything. Willow then said, quote, "I don't know if there's beef after the show maybe," implying that perhaps the cast were quiet because of an argument that had happened during the season. They then discussed the twin contestants, Sugar and Spice, who were already famous on TikTok before Drag Race and have over 7.5 million followers. And host Naysha Lopez asked what the other people's thoughts were on production casting social media queens on Drag Race. Denali said she thought it was interesting that the producers are using different strategies to not only create drama but also during the casting process. Denali then said that, quote, "Because drag is mainstream and it has to go where the numbers are." And she said that the producers like to scoop up people who have a big following. And Denali was implying as though the Drag Race producers find people who have a big following online because they can then convert their followers into Drag Race followers. And then Naysha asked Denali how she would have felt as a contestant on the show if she was cast in the same season as a famous social media queen rather than a legendary performer like Sasha Colby. Denali said that she would be annoyed if she was cast on a season with a social media queen because Denali is a performer, and she also said, quote, "A million performers that I know would be amazing that could have taken that spot." They then started discussing the talent show performances on Season 15, and Willow said how shocked she was by how much she liked Spice's performance. And Willow said that Sugar and Spice are more in on the joke than we give them credit for, and Willow thinks they're doing a really good job on the season. Just to explain, when Sugar and Spice were announced as part of the cast of Season 15, a lot of people joked about it because they're social media queens and people didn't think they were going to be any good on the show. Naysha then said, quote, "They're not stupid," implying that Sugar and Spice might put on a ditzy persona, but they are actually very aware of what they're doing. One of the hosts, Caramel, then asked if they think that the producers will make Sugar and Spice lip sync against each other at some point in the season. All of the others laughed and said of course they were going to make them lip sync, and Naysha then said, quote, "Oh, I mean, have you watched the show? Have you seen this bleep? They're going to go home traumatized." They were then talking a bit more about social media queens, and Naysha made an interesting point about it. Naysha explained that there's a place in LA where you can pay about $300 and you can go on a private jet that doesn't move, it just sits on the ground. But you can go inside and take photos of yourself to make it look like you're on a real private jet. And Naysha said, quote, "That's how social media queens are for me." And Naysha then talked about the downside of social media queens, saying that on social media you can make yourself look like anything even if it's not true. Naysha then said, quote, "But then, like she said, then you get them on stage and you're like, bleep, whoa," implying that social media queens might look good online but they actually can't perform. They then got to the point in the episode of season 15 where Irene Dubois got eliminated, and Naysha shared her thoughts on this because, as some of you may remember, Naysha was the queen that was first eliminated on season 8. Naysha said that being a first out queen does not define your talent. Naysha then added, quote, "On my season I went home first and people think you went home first, you have no talent." And then Naysha referred to Irene and said, quote, "So please make sure you show her love, she is ridiculously talented, her drag is so right," and encouraged people to go follow Irene on social media. They then started talking about how the cast of season 15 includes 16 queens in total, which is a very large cast. And Denali then talked about the challenges of being part of a season that has a large cast. Denali said it's difficult to stay in contact with people, especially when you're all working and travelling around all the time. And she added, quote, "It's really actually difficult to maintain those friendships and trauma bond from that summer that you all spent." And then Willow talked about her first day on the set of season 14 and how she was feeling. Willow explained that she was so nervous on that first day that she didn't say anything, and she said that her heart was beating out of her chest. And then when referring to the season 15 cast, Willow said, quote, "So I don't know what I would do with 15 girls and they're all so loud." They then started talking about the season 15 contestant Mistress Isabel Brooks and how it's been a while since there were any old school shady queens on Drag Race. And Willow made a funny comment about the cast of season 14. Willow said, quote, "I mean, my season was a bunch of clowns and trans people." Some people in the audience then gasped and some people laughed, and one of the other hosts said, "Oh my god," while laughing. And Naysha then added, quote, "She can say it, okay, she can say it." And Willow's comment was likely referring to the fact that season 14 had the most amount of trans queens ever, including Willow, Roscoe, Jasmine Kennedy, Kerry Colby and Cornbread. They then started talking about Mistress Isabel Brooks being shady on season 15, and Naysha said that when queens are shady to each other, it's all light-hearted and said from a place of love and it shouldn't be taken seriously. Naysha also explained that, quote, "We're not coming for any queens, we don't dislike anyone." And she added that what they say at the Roscoe's viewing parties are just jokes and they're all done for entertainment. And Denali also shared her thoughts on this and said that the fans don't get to see what happens backstage, which is why some people, a bit like Sugar and Spice in episode 1, think that when people are being shady it's really serious, but it's actually just a joke and it's part of the drag community. Denali then followed this up by saying, quote, "No girl, this is love language, this is culture right here." Willow then talked about the fact that on season 14, the cast didn't really have any drama because they all got on so well. And Willow implied as though the producers tried to get the queens to fight with each other, but Willow said that no one wanted to fight. And Willow then said about season 15, "I feel the tension rising in this season already and I love it." They then moved on to the audience Q&A session, and the first question was about whether it's important to watch Untucked to get context for the main episodes. Willow said that she doesn't really watch Untucked apart from season 7's Untucked because it was good, but Willow said she feels like the recent seasons of Untucked have been so nice, except for Candy Muse and Tamisha Iman on season 13. And Willow then made an interesting point about how social media has affected how the queens behave on Drag Race. Willow said, quote, "There's become too much consciousness about how you're going to be judged by the fans, and I wish that would kind of go away and they would just plough them with alcohol as well, because then there would be a lot more fun." And Denali then shared a fun behind the scenes moment from her season involving Candy Muse. Denali said that on season 13, they filmed it during the COVID-19 pandemic, and there were a lot of protests and riots happening at that time. So everyone in the season 13 cast was so scared to say anything. And Denali said that Candy walked into the workroom one day and said to everyone, quote, "Ladies, it's a really difficult time to be white right now." And everyone in the audience at Roscoe's laughed. Willow and Denali then said they wished that there was more drama in Untucked like in the older seasons. And Denali said, quote, "It's nice to honestly get back to that time because remember when we were flinging drinks and bleep." And this was most likely a reference to the famous season 3 Untucked fight between Shangela and Mimi on First, where Mimi accused Shangela of having a sugar daddy and Shangela threw a drink over Mimi. Willow and Denali then said that they want punches and a physical brawl, and Willow joked that they should give someone a knife. An audience member then made the point that a lot more of the season 15 cast did original songs in the talent show numbers, and they asked Willow if she thought whether her season 14 sister Cornbread was the inspiration for that. And Willow shared some behind the scenes tea about the talent show on season 14. Willow explained that the talent show was thrown at them at the last minute, and she said that in total they had about 3 weeks to get ready for the season, and they only found out a week and a half before filming that they had to do a talent show number. And Denali said she thinks that the show might have prompted the season 15 queens to create an original song for the talent show because they saw how successful Cornbread's original song was. The conversation then moved on, and Willow and Denali talked about being friends, and an audience member then asked what they both like doing when they're hanging out together not in drag. There was a silent moment and people started laughing as if they knew what was going to happen, and Denali said, "You want the real answer?" and then said, drugs. Willow nodded and laughed, and everyone else laughed, and one of the judges made a joke that Willow and Denali were being bad role models. And Denali said, quote, "Just the legal ones like Mary Wonka." An audience member then asked if Willow or Denali had ever had a bad experience with another Drag Race queen. And Willow revealed that there was one queen who she had a bad experience with before Willow got on Drag Race. Willow said, quote, "I've toured or been in dressing rooms with queens when I was not on the show that were not like the best." At first, Willow didn't want to say who the queen was, but then the audience shouted out asking her to spill the tea. Willow said, quote, "Should I? It's not even that bad. It's not even that bad. Honestly, it was kind of warranted. I mean, it was Violet Chachki." The audience then erupted into laughter for a minute, and this is likely because there is a kind of ongoing thing in the Drag Race community that Violet Chachki has developed a bad reputation for being difficult to work with, and multiple queens have called her out for it. Willow then gave some more information about what happened with Violet and explained that she was doing a show with her drag sister Evie Oddly, and this was before Willow got on Drag Race. And Violet was also part of the gig that they were at. Willow said that it was a drive-in drag gig which happened during COVID, and they had to share a trailer with Violet, and Willow said that Violet was so annoyed and, quote, "wouldn't look me in the eye." But Willow followed this up by saying, quote, "Whatever, I effing love her, she warmed up too, and you know I live for Violet." Naysha then defended Violet and said that drag queens are only human and that we all have our good and bad days, but then Naysha joked that some people have more bad days than good days. And then Willow mentioned Violet again and joked, quote, "Honestly, it was an honour to breathe the same air as her." A different audience member then asked whether queens who get eliminated on Drag Race find out what happened on the episodes after they've left. Willow said that she wouldn't know, which was a joke because Willow won her season so she never got eliminated. But Denali, who got eliminated on her season in episode 10, said that the queens do get filled in about what happened during the season. And she also said, although the queens are not allowed to talk to each other unless it's on camera, the queens would often talk to each other in the vans when they were driving to and from the set in secret. And that's when Denali said that Candy Muse stole one of her reads for the reading challenge. Denali explained that the read that Candy said to Elliot with 2 T's was actually Denali's idea. Denali said the read was something like, quote, the 2 T's stand for like TJ Maxx and this and something like that. I went back and watched the season 13 reading challenge to try and find the exact quote, but Candy didn't actually say anything about Elliot from what was shown in the episode, so it must have not been aired. Anyway, Denali also said that she kept a notebook where she wrote down everything that happened on every episode so she wouldn't forget what happened. She then said that the other queens on season 13 asked to see her notes so they could try and remember what happened, and Denali said that it helped the queens to plan their stuff later. And finally, someone in the audience asked for recommendations for good drag content outside of Drag Race. Denali said that when you get on Drag Race, your life becomes about drag, and Denali said that she and Willow both try and consume non-drag related content to try and, quote, balance ourselves out. But Denali ended by saying, quote, however, I will say there is incredible talent on Dragula and you should definitely check that out. So there you go, there was a recap of the Roscoe's viewing party for the premiere episode of Drag Race Season 15. I hope you still enjoyed this recap even without the clips, but like I said earlier, I can't use any clips for copyright reasons, unfortunately. So what did you think of the first episode of Season 15? And what are your predictions for the rest of the season? Let me know in the comments. Please make sure you like, comment and share this video as it really helps support my channel. And of course, please make sure you hit the subscribe button to stay up to date about new uploads. Thanks for watching and I hope you'll join me again in future videos. Thank you, bye!